Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm doing a Woodland Fairy display cake for a local store. And yesterday or last night we did some flowers. And now I'm going to do some tree bark on my tiers. Yes, that's the fan in the background. I'm sorry. It's just too darn humid. It has to be going. So I'm going to use this really cool tree bark mold that I got. I'm pretty sure I got this on Amazon. I'll find it and I'll put a link in the description. I've used it a few times and it's really quite nice. Whoop, there we go, wrong way. So I'm doing about a 60-40 mix maybe. Fondant gum paste, because this is going to be in a display and not on a real cake and consumed. So I want it to set up firm. Did I mention it's humid? Yeah, you're going to hear that from me quite often during this video because I don't know, I'm on my last nerve with the humidity happening here. Okay, so I'm going to roll this out. I'm going to try and get it close to the size of our mold at least. I started making this video about 20 minutes ago and drove myself nuts with how clumsy I was and forgetful. So this is actually round 2. So here's hoping I get through this one because, man, I am not myself. Okay, I'm going to take our mold and lay our gum paste fondant mix right over the top. I'm just going to roll it a little bit more. I'm making it a little thinner than I would if this was a real cake. But I think this will work. Usually I use my rolling pin. I'm just going to use my hands a little bit and make sure that it's gone down in all the nooks and crannies. All right, I think that's good enough. Voila! Tree bark. Now I've colored this a light tan color because once I get it on the tiers or on the layers, I will color it from there. I don't know if I'm going to airbrush it or do it by hand. I don't know. We'll see. But I always like to start with at least a tinted base. You will drive yourself crazy trying to cover up white. Trust me, I've tried. Don't do it. Okay, I just trimmed those edges real quick. Now the second tier is going to be kind of small, so I'm just using an old hammered cake dummy for this since nobody's going to be eating it. And I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay. Now I like to use Caro syrup, a little Caro syrup on my cake forms. to help this stick. So all I had was dark Karo syrup. So I have dark Karo syrup and a little brush. And I'm just going to put a little light coating on here. It'll just give our tree bark something to hang on to, and it won't be slipping and sliding. Oh, look, I even have duct tape on this one. Perfect for display. Okay, now it's just really sticky. I try not to have puddles of Karo syrup. I just want a nice sticky surface. Once I have that, I'm going to take a piece of our tree bark and wrap it around our tree. See that? Easy. Sometimes I use pins, that's why I have these here, and I'll put them into place. But if this is a cake that's going to be consumed, I keep pins far away. If I absolutely have to use them, I have a chalkboard in my kitchen, and I put a big note on there, and I keep track of how many pins I've used so that I'm sure that every single one gets out before the cake leaves for the venue. No pins in cakes, ever. So be really careful with that. I avoid it at all costs. I think that this second piece is actually going to be enough to cover what we have remaining here. And if I have some pieces that aren't quite covered, I'm not worried about it because I'm going to be adding flowers and mushrooms and woodland fairy things. So again, just adding a little Karo syrup and then wrapping. Be mindful of your seams, and you can fix those a little more later once it's set up. Okay, I can see and feel where we have the seam right here. You see that? I can feel it. So I'm just going to cut along that seam. Okay, I got Karo on my hands and now everything is sticking to me. The beauty of this tree bark mold is you can fix things, man. You can fix anything. I'm going to let that sit up and then I'll go in with my stylist and blend that a little better. Oh, geez, I went down for water and I didn't bring any up. Absolutely a crazy day I'm having. Tell you what, prednisone is the drug from hell. It messes with you in so many ways. Oh, I hate it. All right, let me get this stuff off my hands. Okay, so now we have the beginning of our tree bark. Our our tree, our woodland fairy tree house thing. I don't know yet. I don't have it all put together in my head yet. So, and where we have this seam, I'm just going to go in and kind of make divots just to blend it so there isn't a straight line and make it look like the rest of this surface. So forgiving, it's ridiculous. Only you will see where that seam is. Nobody else will see that. Man, that is a lesson that took me a long time to learn. You might come across a professional who will go, oh, look, I see that little accident there. But other than that, nobody is going to notice. I promise you, nobody's going to notice or know the difference. They're just going to be in awe of your work. And you're just going to say, thank you. You're not going to say, oh, it was super easy. I have a plastic mold. Does all the work for me. You're just going to say, thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to let this sit for a little bit. And I'm going to, what am I going to do next? Oh, I've got to put bark around my second layer. I've got a larger layer. So I'll come back once I have that done, and I'll have everything figured out of how I'm going to paint this, whether I'm going to do it by hand or airbrush. So how easy is that? These are so amazing. So look for this in the description, and I'll get our second layer done and we'll move on to our next step.